Hello my dears, it's Katie and I'm here today to tell you about what's been going on the last couple of months. So in this video I'm going to talk about first all of the books that I have hauled since like October, which is right around the time I did my last haul. I'm not going to include the gifts that I've gotten for holidays and things. I already did a separate video on that, which I will link either up above or down in the description for you guys to go check out in case you haven't seen it. Then I'm going to talk about all the books that I've read so far this year. I did a poll over on Twitter asking whether you guys wanted to see a wrap up from me every 2, 3, or 4 months, and just pretty much the unanimous choice was every 2 months. So here's, my first wrap up of the year. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about in this is what I'm currently reading. I'm not going to really do TBRs, and since I'm just being a little bit more flexible and relaxed with everything this year, I'm just going to kind of briefly do a chatty kind of what I'm currently reading kind of a segment thing. Also, just so you know, my wrap-ups will be a bit different. I'm not going to go as in-depth into the things that I have read. And I'm also doing written reviews on Goodreads, where I'm doing kind of my normal breakdown thoughts and things. And I will link each individual review for all the books that I've done down below, with one caveat, or I should say 2, because they're in a bind-up and it's harder to do more in-depth reviews. So for those 2, you'll probably have to wait all the way until the end of June, or in June sometime, for me to give you my final thoughts on them. So without further ado, let's first jump into all the books that I've hauled. I hauled kind of a few things over the last several months. I tend to not do a ton, and I have read some of these things, but let's just start talking about them. So the first book that I picked up is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. This is a book that I've already read, but for those of you who don't know what it's about, it's a very, very loose retelling of Rumpelstiltskin, and it's a very atmospheric, wintry read, and as I said, I have already read it, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more about my thoughts later in the video, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the next book that I picked up, and I'm really excited to get to this one, hopefully soon, and that is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I've been slowly making my way through Sanderson's works. I'm actually getting ready to start another one of his books very shortly. I'll talk about that once again later. But this is his young adult sci-fi series thing that's happening, and I've been actually really feeling sci-fi the last couple of months, and I cannot wait to jump in and read that one. It sounds absolutely wonderful, absolutely lovely, and it's Sanderson, so I'm probably going to really enjoy it. The next book that I hauled is Daughters of Nri by Reni K. Amayo. I've heard really good things about this book, and I've always wanted to try African fantasy, which is what this is. I thought about trying a few other African fantasies over the last couple of years that have been coming out, but I've heard more and more mixed and or negative things about those, and after doing a bit of digging myself, I decided that those were probably not for me. But this one sounds really great, and I cannot wait to read this at some point. I think it has something to do with like twin sisters and gods, and I'm just like, yes please. So I'll be really interested to pick that one up when I get around to it. Then the next book that I picked up is A Gathering of Ravens by Scott Oden. This is a Norse-based fantasy, and I've been dying to find some Norse fantasy, like good Norse fantasy, because I've read some, and some are only okay, but this one just sounds like right up my alley, and like something that I'm really like, I think. And just the premise sounds super interesting, and I'm just dying to pick it up. In fact, I might be picking this one up very soon, because I've just kind of been in the mood for those kind of atmospheric, wintry reads, and Norse books tend to be that. So who knows? Maybe you guys will get my thoughts on this one sooner than you think. Next book that I got is Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. I've also been really eager to read this one at some point or another. This is a historical fiction novel that follows a group of, I think, Lithuanian people who, during World War II, I believe. I always like books about World War II, but I've never read anything from this specific country or this region. And I'm really, really interested and intrigued to see what happens in this and just maybe learn about a different side of things that I didn't really know about before. And I'm really, really looking forward to picking this one up. I'm obviously looking forward to picking all of these up, but you know, the order will depend on my level of excitement, I suppose. Then the next one I got is The Bone Chips by R.J. Barker. I first heard about this one from one of my all-time favorite authors, Robin Hobb. She did a review of it, and it just sounded so interesting and like something that I'd love. And then I've seen a little bit more about it over on BookTube periodically over the last couple of months. I'm like, you know what, I've really got to get this one. And I'm so glad I did. It seems to be about a ship that is made out of bones of some kind, and it's just very just like a unique concept and like something I haven't really heard of before. And we all know how much I love my ships, so I'll be very, very curious as to how this one goes, especially since there's supposed to be a lot of sailing lingo in here, and I'm just like, yes, I'm living for that, because I don't know if you guys know, but whenever I get a chance, I also like to sail. And so just that seems like something that I would really, really like. And I'm thoroughly looking forward to getting to this one, hopefully some point very soon. So then the next book that I picked up is Isle of Blood and Stone by Mikia Lukier. And basically what I know about this is it's like map makers that end up going on some kind of quest or something. I think there's a lot more to it than that, but like map makers and quest, yes please. Just that was enough to sell me. Plus the cover is absolutely stunning, and I am just so excited. I also might pick this one up sooner rather than later, but you know, we know me, and when I say I'm gonna pick something up soon, I usually don't. So good job, Katie. And the next book that I picked up is The Brilliant Death by Amy Rose Capetta, and this is I think, Renaissance / mafia based fantasy. It's Italian based, I'm pretty sure, and it just sounds really great. Like, it just sounds like something I'd absolutely love, because Italian based fantasy, love that. I think non-binary or genderqueer character and assassins and just all the things that I like, and I'm just like, give me everything. Just give me everything about this book. So yeah, definitely looking forward to getting to that one at some point in the near future. And then the last book that I picked up recently was Survive by Vera Nazarian. And this is the fourth and final book in the Atlantis Grail series. Of course, you guys know I have already read that one. Yes, that is a thing. That has already happened. I won't say too much about it because it is a conclusion to a series, but it picks up right in the events after when, and things go from there, you know. So yeah, good times. Those are all of the books that I've gotten recently that were not gifts or semi-gifts that I've received or gotten for like holiday things over the last couple of months. If you guys have read any of those and you want to tell me which one I should pick up sooner rather than later, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. But now it's time to move over to the books that I have read so far this year. But before I do that, I actually want to talk about something, just briefly. So, back in January, I was just feeling a certain kind of way, and I wanted to try and do something a little bit different. And everyone under the sun, it feels like, I know that's not true, but it seems like everyone under the sun has some kind of like bullet journal or reading journal or something. And I was feeling kind of like, I've always liked journaling. I'm not artistic, but I want to, do the journaling thing. So I went out and bought myself a really reasonably priced journal from Target. And I decided to inventory / create a reading journal. I'm debating about whether or not I'm going to show you guys everything in here that I've done, because I went crazy. I'm nowhere near done with it, frankly, and it's, the end of February. Great, we love that for me. But I did end up filling this. I've got quite a bit of stuff in here. It's mostly in list form, and I have it spread out and separated and everything. If it's something you guys want to see, let me know, because I have plenty to talk about, and an entire video can be made on this. But the only spreads that I want to talk to you guys about today are my books I must read in 2020 and the books I want to prioritize in 2020. Because they're, important to this coming discussion. So the books I must read in 2020 are the books that I have, like, definitive plans to get to, and I absolutely must, whether it's for a buddy read or a read-along or something of that sort. So I have created a list. I've got 34 books on here, and I've already made a bit of a dent in my must-reads list. And a lot of them are going to be some I talked about. And then the books I want to prioritize in 2020 are other books that I really, really want to read, but I'm not going to make it an absolute requirement that I get to them. So if they happen, they happen. If they don't, that's fine too. So I just want to show you what I've done briefly and maybe try and explain a little bit of the color coding. I don't know how well you can see that. But this is my list. I have squares and then the colors that they signify. I have 4 colors for both of these pages. So I've got pink, purple, blue, and then like this dark royal blue color. It's borderline dark purple. And each of them mean different things. So here, let me zoom in a little bit. So the pink are the books that I am, my friends have chosen for me to read. The purples are for read-alongs that I'm participating in. The like turquoisey color are buddy reads, and then the dark kind of bluish, purplish color is for solo reads that aren't part of any greater scheme of things. So as you see, I have colors for all of the things that I've talked about on both pages. So, those are the 2 that I really wanted to just show you guys in this. But as I said, I have a lot of things in here. If you want to know more, let me know. So now let's get into talking about the books that I've read. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to leave all of my reviews down below for all of the books that I've read, as I said, except for one caveat for 2 books that are in a bind up, and just give you like general thoughts overall here. So the first book that I read this year was Survive by Vera Nazarian. As I mentioned earlier, this is the last and final book in the Atlantis Grail series. It's by no means the last book in this universe, because she's planning on doing 20 novellas or something ridiculous. It's insane. But I overall liked the last installment in the series. It wrapped things up. It could have been done a bit differently, but she doesn't really edit her things. Like, this book was published 1 week after she finished writing it. Just conceptualize that, right? Okay. And it was over 1,000 pages long. So also keep that in mind. But yeah, no, it did things very similarly to the other ones, but I sort of liked it the most, I think. But it's hard to say because, I mean, they're all about equal in my mind. But it was a fun series to read. It's brainless mind candy. And this one was about the same. Then the second book that I read this year was Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. And I hate to disappoint a lot of people, but I really, really was not a fan of that book. I had so many issues with it. I couldn't connect to the world or to the characters. Just everybody was flat, and it was just a Tolkien ripoff, frankly. And I was just severely disappointed in it. And yet, I am probably going to give The Great Hunt a try just to see, because I have heard that the series gets better later. It's just how much later is later, if you know what I mean. But I will at least give the second book a try just to see if I feel any different. But if I don't, then I'm probably not going to continue. But I figure I'll at least give it one more try, just to see. But overall, I was really disappointed, and it just wasn't the book for me. Then the third book that I finished was Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik, and as I mentioned earlier, I read this book and I really, really enjoyed it. It was like the perfect atmospheric wintry read, and it was just such a joy and a delight. And this is actually one of the books that Kara recommended to me from my Friends Choose My TBR video that I did. You know, I had 4 friends pick 3 books each. This was one that Kara recommended to me, and I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm just so glad I picked it up. It was perfect for the time that I read it, and I can't wait to read more Naomi Novik works in the future. Then the next / last book that I finished in January was Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen, and that was another one that I enjoyed. I loved the satire of it, and the character Catherine was just a delight to read. Like, I know some people who find her to be really kind of annoying and naive, and she's that, but she's also still a gem, and I really enjoyed her. The love interest was also interesting, but some of the other things were it was middle of the road. But for a first book, because it was Jane Austen's first book, it was great. It was just so much fun to read, and yeah, I'm having a really great time reading through all of Jane Austen's works, because I'm one of the co-hosts for the Austen Anonymous read along that's happening the first half of the year, and it's been great, and I enjoyed that one. And then the last book that I read in January / beginning of February, this was kind of a carryover book, was Frostheart by Jamie Lidler. I got this book as a gift over the holidays, in case you guys didn't see, and I had such fun with this book. It's a middle grade book that follows our main character Ash as he is kind of just shunned in his society, and then he ends up going on this quest voyage thing. He's trying to find his parents, and it was just so delightful. Also atmospheric, perfect for the winter. Just absolutely 100% recommend for you guys to read it if you haven't already. And the next book that I read was Saga Volume 1 by Brian K. Vaughan, and this was another book that was from my friend's recommend video. This was a Vendy recommend, and I was a little hesitant going into this because graphic novels can be a bit of a hit or a miss for me because of the format or the art style and everything. But this one actually surprisingly really worked for me. The art style was really simplistic. It was easy to follow. It was really fun. It was really engaging and immersive. So I was actually pleasantly surprised. But the content in this is graphic, just all around graphic. So if that's something that tends to bother you, I'd probably stay away from that one. But I had a really fun time with it, and I'm actually probably going to pick up Volume 2 at some point in the future. Just definitely this year. I'm just not sure when yet, but I had a really great time with that one, and it was a very big, pleasant surprise. Then I ended up participating in Polarthon, which was hosted by Jade from Jadeyraereads. I will link her channel down below. You guys should definitely go check her out. She's really fun. But she loves polar fantasy, and so she created a readathon about polar fantasy. And, I wasn't sure I was going to, participate because I was going to have a busy week. So I was just like, you know what? I'm going to loosely participate in this. I'm going to just see what I can do and see what prompts I can fulfill and everything. And I managed to do okay. I didn't do great, but I did okay. I ended up finishing one book, and then the other one I ended up finishing a couple of days later. But, I loved both of them. I had a really great time with both of them. And, I'm still calling the readathon a success, even though I didn't complete it in the week period. It was just not going to happen. So the first book that I read for Polarthon was Artemis Fowl and the Arctic Incident. This is the second installment in the Artemis Fowl series by Owen Colfer. And I had a really great time with this. As you guys know, I read this when I was a kid, and I really enjoyed it, but I never finished the series. I never continued on. And so I've been working my way through a reread. And this was perfect for Polarthon because a lot of it takes place in the Arctic, and it was just as good as the first one. I had such a great time reading it, and I can't wait to continue on with my rereads. But, as I said, this did satisfy a couple of prompts for the readathon. The way Polarthon works is you work your way through the map, and you can double up on challenges as long as they're connected and linked. And I ended up toying with a couple of different choices, but ultimately I ended up going from Cold Word up to foiled cover, across to Journey, then across to Northern Folklore, and then of course Polar Fantasy. So the Arctic Incident satisfied the Arctic word because Arctic, or Cold Word because Arctic. And foiled cover, because the cover is foiled. I ended up picking up one other book that ended up satisfying Journey, Northern Folklore, and Polar Fantasy. Then the next book that I read for Polarthon was The Wolf and the Whale by Jordana Max Brodsky. And you guys, this was the best book that I have read this year, by far. It was absolutely incredible. I was able to even tell that it was going to be a favorite book when I was not very far in. I was just like, oh my God, I am loving this book. I want more people to read it. I want more people to talk about this book because there are hardly anyone talking about this book, and it deserves more love and appreciation and everything that it deserves. It was so incredibly well researched, so well written, and I died, okay? It was incredible. So good. It follows our main protagonist, Omat, who is an Inuit shaman, and so it brings in an Inuit lore and mythology, but it also talks about Viking lore and mythology, and just kind of how those worlds collide. And then we have some god action, and we have just some day-to-day life stuff. I cannot even talk about this book. I have such a hard time talking about it because I love it so much, and it's not a book that you can properly explain. You can read the summary if you want, and you can read my review if you want, but that does not properly explain what this book is even about, because it's so much more than that little snippet that you get there. But some things I will warn about. There is quite a bit of difficult content in here. We've got not only mentions, but also actual rape in here. And then we've got lots of violence and what we would call transphobia, but I'm not 100% sure if that's the proper term, because the culture that has this thing in it views gender in a very different way, but because it's presenting itself in a transphobic way, I'm gonna call it that. And then there's a lot of animal death. Most of it is because of hunting scenes and things, but some of it is not, but I'm going to put that out there regardless. So just be warned going in. It's not an easy read, but it is, if you can, I would highly, highly recommend picking up because it was incredible. And honestly, if we want more fantasy books like this, we need to get the word out there and, talk about them, because honestly, we don't have enough Indigenous fantasy, and it's just something that I would personally love to see more of, especially if it's like this, because, it was, it was so good. So good, you guys. Please read it if you can, and definitely come and scream / talk to me about it as you go, because there is so much to talk about. I die. It was so good. So good. And the next book that I read was The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I am rereading The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings and maybe The Silmarillion later this year. I'm not sure. But for sure, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. And there's not much to say about this one except for that I had such an incredible time rereading this. I reread it with Vendi and Kelsey. I got so much more out of it this time, and I tabbed it, as you can sort of see, hopefully. And, I just don't have much more to say about this except for I had such a lovely time rereading this, and it is still one of my favorite books. And I will always, always have the best time rereading this, no matter how many times I go. And I will be putting up a vlog for this book at some point in the future, or I should say like in-depth discussion analysis. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, but that will be up at some point in the future. I hope you guys go and watch it because I have a lot to say and I want to spread the love for this book. And I have a lot to say about it. Then the next book that I read and finished was The Final Empire, which is the first book in the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson, and I enjoyed this one. I didn't love it as much as a lot of people seem to think I will or would, but I enjoyed it regardless. It was fun, it was interesting. Sanderson's world building is honestly what really, really keeps me interested, keeps me going, and just makes me want to read more. And I had a really great time reading it when I did. So we love that for me. And then the last book that I finished recently was Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. As I already mentioned earlier in the video, I am doing a Jane Austen read-along, and I read Northanger Abbey last month, and now it's Sense and Sensibility this month. This is the book that I am actually going to be doing the live show for and participating in. And I actually really like Sense and Sensibility. I've read 5 of Austen's works at this point, and I have different feelings about all of them. But I really enjoyed Sense and Sensibility. I love the sibling and the sisters dynamics. I really enjoyed the love interests. I thought Willoughby was a piece of garbage and just really obnoxious, but I had a really great time on this one, and you'll probably hear more of my thoughts on that if you guys tune into the live show, which I would absolutely recommend. So keep your eyes out for that one when it happens. I'll tweet about it or something, and you guys can hear more of my thoughts over there. But now I'm going to talk about the books that I am currently reading. Currently, while this video is being filmed, I am not reading anything, but I am going to be picking up at least 2 books in the coming days. First and foremost, I'm going to be starting The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson, which is the second book in the Mistborn trilogy. I forgot to mention that I actually buddy read the first book with a friend of mine and had a really good time with it. I'm buddy reading Mistborn with her because it was just a trilogy that I was super intimidated by because I wasn't sure I was going to like it or not. Spoiler alert, I am liking it, just not as much as everyone thinks I am. So I'm going to be picking up The Well of Ascension with her in the next coming days. Then, this is a funny story. So I was trying to decide what to read next for my solo read. And I ended up putting up a poll on Twitter for 4 books that I was kind of just trying to decide between. The result of that poll was that it was a 4-way tie. So thanks, guys. Great help. Love that for me. But I am thinking I'm more inclined to pick up The Binding by, Bridget Collins. I am just feeling that kind of thing these days. I really had kind of a strange couple of months mentally, mindset-wise. So I feel like that one would be a really great book for me to read because I have a lot of, I've been feeling very introspective lately, especially given the time of year that it is. So I have a feeling that I'll be the one that I pick up, but I'm also toying between that and reading A Gathering of Ravens because it's a shorter book, and I don't know, I'm feeling like I could probably finish that one in February rather than, The Binding and also Well of Ascension are probably going to be carried over into March a little bit. So we'll see what happens there. And then, since you guys won't really hear from me until end of April, early May, are going to be my next wrap up. I'm going to be starting my Lord of the Rings reread, and that will be a buddy read with Kara, Vendi, and Kelsey. And it should be a really great time. I'm really looking forward to getting back into that world. It's just everything, and it'll be just such a delight. I'm also buddy reading the entire Realm of the Elderling series by Robin Hobb with Vendi. We're currently in the middle of Royal Assassin, which is the second book, and I'm loving it. I think Vendi is too, but periodically we have to take breaks because, mental health and the content is incredibly rough, especially in Royal Assassin, I feel like. The ending of Royal Assassin is a lot. If you read it, you know what I mean. But yeah, we're making our way through that, and I'm having a wonderful time rereading that. It brings me so much joy and happiness. And that might sound weird, but it brings me so much joy and happiness. And then I'm also rereading Inner Simplicity by Elaine St. James. And I had mixed feelings about it then. I still kind of have mixed feelings about it now, but I'm rereading it with my parents and having a different experience with it. So not much to say on that front. Then my college friend book club and I are getting ready to pick up The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I am really interested to see what I think about that book, since I have a complicated relationship with sci-fi sometimes, but I'm really looking forward to it. It seems like something I'd enjoy, but the jury's still out, so we'll see what happens. And then, of course, I'm going to be continuing on with Austen Anonymous. Next month's read is Pride and Prejudice, and I've been dying to reread that one for quite some time. And then we'll be getting into Mansfield Park, which is the last book of Jane Austen's that I haven't read. So I'll be very interested to see what I think of that one when we get to it. So those are my tentative reading plans. I'm also planning on participating in Middle Grade March. I don't have a solid TBR in mind for what I'm going to read. I'll, of course, update you guys. And then I am going to probably, hopefully, fingers crossed, participate in the Owls for the first time this year, which happened in April, I believe. And I'm really excited because it'll be my first time. Instead of, sitting on the sidelines being like, why am I not participating in this? I can now say, I'm going to get to participate in this. So I'm really excited to jump into that. Also, in case you can't tell, I reorganized my bookshelves again. I have a video in the works to talk a little bit more about why down the line, and I will probably expand on what I did in that one instead of here. But once again, I reorganized them. I like to do it every couple of months. Just helps calm me and soothe me, and it's just something that I really enjoy. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys have read any of these or are planning on reading any of these, let me know down below and we can have a conversation about them. But other than that, you guys know the drill. I have all of my social media links down below in the description, and I will catch you later in a new video adventure for you guys again soon. Bye!